I'm wearing my bonnet when I sleep, right?
Yeah.
If the rapture happens and I'm in bed without my covering on, at least I'm going to heaven still.
You have to have your bonnet on to get caught up in the rapture.
Yeah, or you got to wear, black socks.
Damn.
Yeah.
I'm going to start wearing black socks.
So you can't, so guys can't see skin.
Oh.
Right? And potentially lust. Yeah.
That falls on them, right?
Yeah. Falls on the girls.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
there's some sort of correlation between never having a sex talk and building pole barns.
Yeah. Yeah. So if it's fun, don't do it.
Yeah.
That's literally how it was.
That's literally the only rule.
Yeah.
It can't be fun.
Yeah.
All right. Welcome, everybody. This is the Jaden Jeffs Podcast. Today, I have Brandon with me. Brandon, if you want to introduce yourself and tell anybody anything you want them to know about you.
Sure. Thanks for having me on the podcast. This is my debut with, my story, I guess. So my name is Brandon Suarez. I grew up in West Tennessee and, been seeing your social media content, and it kind of intrigued me because I kind of grew up in a similar situation. So, where did we meet? It was
we met at the Westerner.
Oh, is that what it was? Yeah, that was the first time, right?
Yeah.
So
we got talking, and I said, "Hey, do you want to come on the podcast?" He, just so everybody knows, Brandon is ex-Mennonite.
Yes, sir.
Is it Mennonite or Mennonite?
Mennonite, Amish, same thing.
Amish? Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean, the Mennonites come from the Amish.
Oh, they do?
And, like my parents, my grandparents used to be Amish. So
okay,
it's kind of like advancing in the ladder, of religion and the
Wait, is there another one I'm
modern,
thinking of?
more modern style of Amish is Mennonite.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, so they're not as strict. They let you do more things.
Yep. Let you have vehicles, technology, stuff like that.
Are they totally separate now? They kind of just, they're totally separate group.
Yeah, but then there's 20 versions of the Amish and 20 versions of the Mennonites now.
How many Mennonites are there?
I don't know the exact population, like in the U.S., what it is. I mean, I would say in most states there's a community somewhere. But, if you go up to like Pennsylvania, Lancaster County, there's a lot more Amish up there than Mennonites. But they're just spread out all across the Northeast, Northwest.
So do Mennonites just like believe in Jesus, or?
I would say they take the Bible. They're very strict on like the King James version. Instead of like all the other versions, they picked out one that fits their narrative, and they take that and they're like, this is the only book. So pretty similar actually to how you grew up, how the Mormons are here in Utah.
So what's the difference between a Mormon and a Mennonite? I mean, an FLDS Mormon style.
Honestly, since I'm out of it, it's been like 10 years. I would say there's a lot of similarities, actually.
Dress and...
Yeah, just the religion in general, right, is very similar with mindset, having a limited belief, having a limited mindset, a limited lifestyle. Like everything's just capped. It goes to a certain point and then you can't do anything. So,
dude, one time when I was in the FLDS, we were driving up Pikes Peak, and this van of women stopped at the store thing, and they all get out. It's just a bunch of women. Initially, I was like, "Oh, those are FLDS people," and then I was like, "No, these are something else." And it's just a bunch of girls with looked like a few women, and my curiosity just like totally peaked because their hairstyles were different and they almost looked like FLDS people. So I went up to one and I says, "Hey, do you mind if I ask what you are?" And she's like, "We're Mennonites." So that's the first time I'd ever seen Mennonites, but they look just like the FLDS.
How long ago was that?
Man, that was in 2017.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, honestly, I would say the reason why you don't see very many out here is because of the FLDS. They don't want to have any kind of, they don't want to partake with any kind of, but they dress very similar, right? Yeah. So I don't know for sure, but I would say that's probably one reason why there's not a lot of them in Utah.
Yeah. Well, let's go back to your childhood. Were you just growing up on a farm, or how do the Mennonites grow up, and how strict is it?
So I would say let's go back to my grandpa, right? They grew up in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania. This would be on my mom's side. My dad's from Costa Rica with a non-Mennonite background. And so, my mom grew up on a dairy farm, milk cows, that kind of thing. And then dad and mom got married when mom was down in Costa Rica on a mission trip. My dad doesn't.
So they go on missions.
Yeah.
Mennonites go on missions.
Mm-hmm. Just like every religion.
Okay. Amish go on missions?
Yeah.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, I need the Amish mission. That's one thing I have not come across yet.
I would say they do a lot of, disaster relief stuff.
Oh. It's
not necessarily a mission like the Mormons do, where they go door to door and talk about the gospel and stuff like that. I would say they do more like disaster services, like when there's a hurricane or a tornado or whatever. They'll send a bunch of people out to volunteer to go on that mission. I went on one of those at 19 years old, I believe. I went to the country of Nepal. You know where that's at?
I don't.
Yeah.
I did not do geography good enough.
So you have China, Nepal, and then Japan.
Okay.
So Nepal is just a thin little country in the middle,
okay.
And it's where Mount Everest is.
Oh.
So went out there for 2 or 3 weeks. They had a earthquake out there, so yeah, went out there and did my mission.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds like they're better at PR than the FLDS.
I don't know. I mean, do FLDS go to missions?
No.
They don't?
No, they believe that the missions are done. From here on, it's you're trash and we're the good ones.
So do you believe in any kind of religion anymore?
No?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm just about to start believing in the Mennonites.
Oh, man.
I don't know. Not really.
Yeah.
So let's go back to your story. Your grandpa and your grandparents get married, and then she goes on a mission. And
so I was born right outside of Lexington, Kentucky, and Dad was more like construction minded. He worked on a pole barn crew, and then he went into the general store business. So we had bulk food, Mennonite country store,
Okay.
And then that's kind of what I grew up doing. So
can we visit that store still?
The first one you can, yeah.
Is it somebody else's now, or?
It is called, it's somebody else's. It's called the Country Cupboard, right outside of Harrodsburg, Kentucky. So right outside of Lexington, 30 minutes or so.
Got it.
So
is that still a Mennonite that owns it? Or?
I don't think so.
Oh,
no.
Okay.
No, we sold it to an English person.
Okay.
Yeah. So at 9 years old, we moved to West Tennessee and got into the same thing. Did a bulk food store out in the country. That one's no longer running, but grew up right across the road from our school and our church. So
why does every Mennonite, Amish, and FLDS family build pole barns?
Good question.
They all do it.
I know they all do it. Yeah, we were just talking about, who you work for or build for right now. But yeah, I would say it's, a lot of what's instilled in them is hard work and, no TV, no video games, nothing that wastes any time. I would say hard work. Like they get up at 4 or 5 in the morning, go put in 10, 12 hours, and that's how they do their living.
Well, how was your religious life like growing up? Like, I personally feel that one of the number one things in all religion, the number one things that they're worried about or that they're trying to discipline you in is sex.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, were your parents strict that way or not?
I would say, yeah. I mean, we never got on the discussion or anything, and
I mean, you never had the sex talk.
Never had it.
But was it wrong to talk about it?
Yeah, I would say, it was a very hush-hush kind of topic, right? Like, it was just too much, I'm not going to do that with my kids. I would rather talk about it, give the information, than not talk about it and let your kids find out another way.
There's some sort of correlation between never having a sex talk and building pole barns. Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, definitely when you're, 12, 13, 14 years old, for me, and you're questioning, am I, it was a lot of confusion, I would say, growing up. For me, I was very confused. I didn't know, I was very ignorant, just didn't know anything, Did you have a phone?
Oh, I got phones. Yeah. Wasn't supposed to.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Mennonites aren't supposed to have phones.
Well, yeah, they can have cell phones, but as a 14-year-old boy, I wasn't supposed to have one.
Can you use the internet? Did your dad use the internet?
I would say yeah, now they would, but not when I was in it. We weren't supposed to have internet. So it's kind of advanced since then.
Okay.
Got a little bit more modern.
Yeah.
More liberal, So
what does your father think of you now?
We have a pretty good relationship, like I do with my family. I mean, obviously there's a little bit more of distance, across the country, and we're not, day to day doing anything together anymore. But I really enjoyed working with my dad. I mean, I would say the reason why I'm successful today is because I learned those hard working traits, started my own business at 24 years old, and we're killing it. I'm only 29, so 5 years into this deal, it's been pretty good. So,
well, how was community life? Like, when I grew up, there was a bunch of families around us. I went to school with them. Like, how was community life? Do you live on one property? Does everybody have their own property?
Everybody has their own. I would say it's pretty similar to the normal way of living, in America. But yeah, they would have their own property. Everybody would still live kind of in a community, like maybe a 10-mile radius or whatever, so that you're not an hour apart, and you go to the same church or like a ward kind of thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you can kind of move around.
Yeah.
Who's the boss of the Mennonite? Like, is there a prophet or?
I would say there's, there's definitely politics in any kind of cult or religion, right? There's politics of leadership. There's politics of who does what in churches. And I would say, there's probably in the religion that I grew up in, there was probably 6 guys that kind of said what happens, and they would have their quarterly meetings and stuff, and come up with their standard book, and just kind of say how things go. But then there's, like I said, 100 of those little groups all over the country that have their own several leaders that say what goes on.
So there's no boss of the Mennonites.
There's no like your dad kind of situation where there's one person is the god of all of it.
There's not a president of the church.
No. I mean, there's a bishop of each church.
But do they communicate somehow?
But they all communicate to make this thing a organized religion.
Do you pay your tithing?
definitely.
10%?
10%.
Sweet.
Yeah.
And what do they do with
Used
that
to.
money? Yeah, you used to. Yeah. What do they do with that money?
I would say, like buildings, real estate.
More pole barns.
Yeah, more pole barns. Yeah. And I would say a lot of it goes to missions and stuff too. Like they'll donate to different cause. Overall, I would say like, I don't know. In a way, I'm thankful for the way that I grew up. I've heard you say that too.
Yeah.
Like there's part of the whole family thing and the values, everything in Utah here, like everybody you talk to, is all about values and this and that, Definitely blessed to not grow up in a home where there was drugs and alcohol and like all of that violence type stuff that goes on in today's world. But as far as like what it does, to your mindset, to your mental health, I would say that's the biggest thing for me is why I'm thankful that I'm not there anymore.
You're saying it was a negative to your mental health.
Yeah.
I know. I feel the same way. Like I've hired a couple and just worked alongside of a couple of real drug addicts or just bad family, and their mindset is insane. Yeah. It's like I don't know why people think my childhood was so bad. Yeah. Whatever that is, it's got to be.
Yeah.
So
you don't know what you don't know in today's society.
But and what negative things are you talking about? Are you as far as like your mental health and?
So I always tried to keep a positive mindset, right, and not go. I'm kind of an avoidant personality. Any kind of confrontation, stuff like that. But I'm just out.
Do you think you got that from how you grew up?
Like, yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah, because there was just, like I said, confusion. You grow up where there's rules and regulations and a limited mindset, and then you get out of it and you're like, dude, I can do anything, right? I can literally do whatever I want, So the freedom that I found after I got out was incredible. I'm sure you know what that's like too. You're just not, you're not bound by a man's rule to do this and do that. But then like every time, there's something comes up and it's borderline that rule, there's always a loop to jump through it, right? You see that in every single religion. So you're going to have the liberals, you're going to have the conservatives. So, but yeah, it just all screwed my mind up with God and life and just the mental process of who I am. Because, you're gauging yourself off of the leaders of the church and off of your peers, and you can't truly be who you want to be.
So you kind of feel like you grew up with a given identity, basically.
Correct. A forced
identity.
Forced identity.
That's what every one of these groups do.
Yeah. And that's religion in general. So that's why I'm not religious anymore. That's why I don't do religion groups where a man, comes before a group of people and says, this is how this organization or everybody in this church needs to be, and I want you to sign up for this name.
Yeah.
Not doing that.
Did you go to school?
Yeah. Went to 8th grade.
Just like public school? Or?
No, we had our own private school.
Yeah, that's what I was
But we just capped out at 8th grade.
Oh, I see.
So basically their curriculum, packs 12 years into 8.
Oh, I see.
So that we can get out and work.
Yeah.
Go build pole barns.
I'm telling you, those things are addictive.
Yeah.
Yeah, my brothers build pole barns, and we just started with houses, but just always gets back to pole barns. But there's no polygamy, is there?
Ooh, I would say in every kind of organization with any kind of religious organization. I mean, the way I look at it now is in a lot of organizations, there's always a cover up to something else. Like there's stuff that happens, in the Amish settings, in the Mennonite settings. As far as polygamous, no, there's no, having more than one wife situation. But there's a lot of hidden, different forms of violence and stuff like that. Crime.
Yeah. There's probably a lot of mischievous sex situations.
Uneducated, mischievous sex, I would say. Like no, just no education. So things happen that are just, not good.
How do you get married if you're a Mennonite?
How do you get married?
Do you date?
Yeah. I would say, for me, it's not the dating world in a Mennonite in a Mennonite religion, if I can say it. The dating world is very like I'm dating to marry kind of situation.
Yeah.
So you pick a girl, that you like, and you ask her dad, and then you ask her in a very formal way, almost not in a way where you're by yourself. It has to be like around people. So I would say, if that doesn't work out, then you find somebody else. But that rarely happens. It's usually a one shot, one and done kind of deal. So
on to 80, sweetheart.
Yeah, that's how they do it.
Yeah.
Yep.
What happens if you have sex before you're married?
So like in a lot of Amish and Mennonite places, settings, you would first of all, if you got caught or if you confessed it to the church or to your parents, you would get excommunicated or shunned.
They actually use that word, don't
Yeah.
they?
Yeah. If you get excommunicated, you definitely get shunned.
Okay.
So you can't sit with the family to eat type thing.
Really?
Yeah.
Got to go down to your bedroom?
Yeah. So I guess there's something in the Bible that says, you can't eat with the sinners. And to me, it just never made sense because Jesus always ate with the sinners, So stuff like that just really confused me a lot. So
when you're like 5 years old, do you go out with your dad and do different things, or like how's life then?
I would say growing up, before 10 years old, softball, going with dad on his jobs, stuff like that, going to the store, I learned how to do like cash register sales at a very young age, probably 6 or 7 years old. I was standing on a 5-gallon bucket checking people out at the general store. So, I'd say there's a lot of interaction with the world at a very young age for me. And, they would say that that's probably why I'm not in it now, because I was too much in the world to around me when I was younger.
So they encourage isolation.
Yeah. Shelter, put people in a box.
Yeah.
That's the whole limited belief, limited mindset of the organization, of the religion, is to keep people under this umbrella so they can't go out and experience what life can be for you,
Yeah.
And then, the elders of the church or the people that are in charge are the ones that have massive businesses and massive dairy farms, and they're the successful ones. And then all of us uneducated guys, idiots, are working for them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that never went down with me because I knew there was something better. I knew I didn't want to, work for somebody for the rest of my life. Yeah.
That is how all these groups are. All have big businesses.
Yeah.
How is the women in the Mennonites? Are they free to some degree, or are they also very controlled? I know, if they're like the ones I saw, they have dresses that are pretty long.
Bonnets.
They have bonnets. Well, the ones that are married, do they have something different than the ones that aren't?
It depends on which religious group it's in. Some of them would have a black covering bonnet that goes over their normal everyday cap. That wasn't the case in ours. Our group was just one style for all type thing, and there was always little things it's got to cover the ears. It couldn't be behind the ears, and some of them had to have the strings.
Yeah.
So it just depends on what the elders of that church, would agree on is the proper way to do it in that situation. So, I would say to your question about them being controlled and, submissive and under a roof, that kind of thing, that's very much how it is. They got to submit to their husband. They have to, I don't like the whole thing of it because, the guys could, some of them would dress like me, right? They could go out into the everyday world.
Just a short sleeve shirt.
Yeah, short sleeve shirt and look normal, right? But then when they take their wife or they take their daughters to town and they meet some of their buddies that they work with, they're like, oh, you're Mennonite? Or then they, it was an embarrassment to me and some of, most of the men, I would say, that I grew up with are, it was just kind of a thing where you're just you hope nobody sees it, right? So you hope nobody recognizes it. So with that, yes, they're forced to be under this umbrella of you got to do, this and this. And then the men, at church would come up with all the rules and make exceptions for this and that, but then the women's rules never changed, right? So no, that's confusion. Why?
So the guys are out there hey, I think we need to wear short sleeve shirts once in a while and a few other things, and there's just no room for these women to
no.
Be like,
if
hey,
they
we're changing techniques.
Yeah, if they would speak up and say we're gonna shorten our dresses or change something on our sleeves on our dresses to where they're above the elbow instead of below the elbow, then the men would be like, no, we're not doing that, and just call it out. So the women definitely never get heard with things that come up. They're too submissive to bring an issue up. And then when one of them does, then, everybody points fingers at her and says she's the loud, unsubmissive person, right? So, yeah, none of that stuff just never made any sense to me.
Yeah, I remember one time I was with FLDS man and his wife, and he had a bunch of wives, but he just had one wife at this time. And we were going to Cabela's. We wanted to walk through Cabela's. Mm-hmm. And he says to his wife, she wants to come in. And he says to his wife, well, just like stay separate from us so that we can, like we don't like this attention.
Yeah.
Just stay separate from us. We're going to walk around the store. You can walk around the store and do whatever you want, but just stay separate.
I would guarantee that there is a lot of Mennonite and Amish men that think that, but they're like, they would never say it. So it's just sad. Like I don't know. I just don't know. What did they call it? I mean, they call people in today's society living in bondage. But what is that? Right?
Yeah.
What is how you grew up? What is how I grew up? It's control. We live in the freest country in the world. We literally don't have to, be like some other religions in other countries where the state or the country regulates what you do. So why is it such a it's confusion for me.
That's another thing that I think a lot of FLDS people think a lot. They say, oh, we don't like communism, we don't like socialism. They're very like conservative type people. They usually side with the right, not all of them, but a lot of them. But then they're all for the rules that we have. It makes no sense.
No. There's always something hidden that they need, just like in a lot of, politics or, dude, here in Utah, sheriffs, judges, people in charge, mayors, there is more arrests and stuff for people doing hidden stuff that are in authority than I've ever seen in the last couple of years here in Utah. Right?
Yeah.
It's an organization, and they use that to cover up what they are doing behind the scenes to make them look good.
Yeah, Utah's kind of a weird place. It really is.
It is.
I don't think Mormons understand how weird they are.
Yeah. Very much so. So
you were saying earlier that basically you're given your identity. Mm-hmm. You grow up with a forced identity, and I think that's what a lot of these women have as well. Mm-hmm. One of the things I've noticed about FLDS girls, when they leave,
wild as hell, huh?
Well, a lot of them think, okay, I'm going to get married, and I'm going to, I'm so happy now I can get married.
So you said after they left?
Yeah, after.
Okay.
So they leave. They're like, they feel like they've found this new world.
Yeah.
Okay. And I guess I can describe it for the boys too. I'm trying to get a feel for how the mindset of the Amish or Mennonites, because like you were talking about how the women just don't get a choice.
Yeah. I
feel like they're just a little bit more forced identity, probably. But it's just as strong with the boys, I think, until they hit a certain age. But these FLDS girls, they go and they think they have life figured out.
Yeah.
Well, they get a little ways into it, and they start finding out they have no idea who they are. They don't know what they want. Guys give them attention, they're shocked by it. They start feeling emotions they've never felt before. And so I've noticed, like, if they haven't been through that, it's easy for them to cheat. And
Yeah.
No, I'm serious.
I would say that's in the Mormon circles too. That's kind of how it is. That's not how it was in the Mennonite circles.
What?
Where they would leave and think they have it all figured out. You very seldom, like very rarely, found a Mennonite girl that left. because the suppression of the limited mindset wouldn't dare them to leave.
You're saying Mennonite women rarely leave.
Right.
Got it.
So that's what's a little bit different, you know.
So we don't have very many examples to look at.
No.
I don't know. That says probably something worse than it does something good.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like what you're saying though is the FLDS girls would leave a lot. And it's, you know, it's because they were forced into a marriage and forced into stuff they didn't approve of.
Not back in the day. They didn't leave a lot, but now they leave
right and left.
Right and left.
Yeah.
Just because things are falling apart.
Yeah. I see that a lot. Yeah.
I think boys are the same way. They just have a little bit more time, I think, before they leave a lot of times to figure out who they are.
Mm-hmm.
They start figuring out who they are before they leave. It's still kind of hard to leave the FLDS. I still have a lot of people that message me and be like, you know, I'm thinking about leaving.
Yeah.
You know, but my friends around me, whatever.
Yeah. It's definitely, you know, something that will change your identity leaving in a good way. I would recommend anybody to leave. Take that risk, you know. For me, that was the best decision I ever made. To just, I mean, actually, it was so bad growing up around that 14, 15-year-old
what was
range
so bad about it?
that I left at 15. But like an overnight thing, right? I was so illiterate that I left as a minor. That's how much confusion, you know, that's how much I wanted freedom, wanted peace, and didn't have it. That's how much confusion I had growing up in that religion. And I would say, you know, there's not a lot of guys that face that as much as I did, but I was one of the bad guys, you know, and left at 15 years old overnight. And then I, you know, was either going to get caught by the cops or...
So when does this mindset start? Like, what's the confusion?
So the confusion is...
And I understand if it's hard to explain.
Yeah.
But I'll try to understand, because one of the things I think is it's easy for a girl to say, like, oh, I was trapped.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard for a boy to say that. But I would say, like, just say it.
Yeah. I would say there's a lot of peer pressure between 11 and 15 to become a Christian, right? When you convert to Christianity in their world, you are gauged off of everybody else, right? So you go in a class where you go over all the standards, all the rules that they have and their beliefs, and then you get baptized, and then you're a member of the church. So before that, you got to become a Christian, right? So during that age bracket, I was, you know, under a lot of like confusion with just who is God, you know, when shall I become a Christian? I want to be like everybody else, right? I want to join this class. I'm the oldest one. All my other friends that are younger than me or in my age group are in it. So why am I not, right? So I feel like that first time I was, you know, peer pressured into becoming what they call a Christian at 12 years old or 13 years old. I can't remember what it was. But it's similar to the LDS with how they have their stages of being a member in the church. They have their levels. You get to this point, and then you can do this, and then you can do this. I didn't have that authentic connection that everybody said they had. So I never truly, felt like I knew who God was at such a young age. I was kind of forced into this class, and then I didn't perform like the rest of them did. So one thing that's a little, you get to the end of the class, and then they're like, well, what's your purity like? How much do you masturbate? And there's a 3-month or 6-month window that you have to be clear of all that in order to become a member or in order to be baptized into the church. So the first time around, I didn't meet those standards. Right? So with Jesus, who Jesus is, and the way I know Christianity today and who God is today, God accepts me for who I am. I don't have to prove myself in order to be accepted by him. Right? So I'm a sinner, right? And everybody is, but they put you on this pedestal where you have to achieve these certain, this certain criteria in order to be baptized, in order to be a member. When you don't meet that criteria, you feel like shit. So, that's not how it should be.
Yeah, this is good for me because it's a group I genuinely don't understand, you know? So I'm trying to wrap my head around the mindset before, like when you're 12 years old. Mm-hmm. Like when you're 10 years old. You're this boy who has grown up in isolation mm-hmm. with the Mennonites. So isolation to some degree. You've gone to school. But it is this religious group with an identity mm-hmm. similar to the FLDS. Like, mm-hmm. this is your identity. This is who you are. So you don't really see outside of that. And that's when they say, okay, it's kind of like an FLDS boy getting the priesthood or something at 12 years old. So at 12, you're supposed to, what is it? Did you say become a Christian?
Become a Christian, yeah.
How do you become a Christian?
I mean, to them. Just wake up one day and tell your parents you want to, serve God for the rest of your life. But it's the experience in your heart that they want you to share so that, you have a story to tell, right? They want you to have that authentic experience with a vision or with something happening in your life where you're like, you know what? God, I need you. So I had that later in a real way, 18 to 19 years old, and then I got baptized into the church. So I felt like, at that point, I know who God is. It's like a marriage. The first time around, you hardly know what you're getting into, right?
Especially if you're a Mennonite.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And being that you didn't just casually date around, I grew up with 5 brothers. I don't know what a girl is even, right? I was trying to get into the church before I was trying to get into
you didn't know what a girl was?
Well, I never had a discussion on sex.
Yeah.
Until like, I don't know, 16, 17 years old. Right? So I'm this confused individual. It was great.
No, I'm saying, what did you think a girl was? Like, what did you... You have to at least think about it.
Yeah, so in that religion, I mean, I will say this, at 13 years old, when I saw my first porn, then it was like I I was shocked. I never knew that humans did this, right? That's a lot of people's experience when they have that first discussion.
Just the
right?
cows.
Yeah, just the cows. So, yeah, dude, that was just crazy to me. Like, I had that discussion with my friends before I had it with my parents. So,
yeah, I remember when I was like, I was 5 or 6 years old.
uh-huh.
And, I've only seen all the mothers and girls, they have these dresses on. And I say to my brother, we were talking about the mothers and their dresses. And I say to him, well, I think they have like a sheet of skin between their legs. And he's like, no, they don't. I have seen up their legs. And I can't believe it. I'm like, what? So why do they wear the dresses? Anyway, every FLDS boy, I don't know, probably has some sort of a theory.
Yeah.
So you probably had some sort of a theory.
I don't know what kind of theory I had, but as a, curious, uneducated 12-year-old, 13-year-old, then for me, porn was an addiction for a while. So it's crazy that in those circles, you would think that a lot of people wouldn't, be into that, but there is a lot of that. There's always a way to get around it, to find porn. So, I would say, from the age of 13 to maybe like 16 or 17 years old, that's all, that just makes your whole mental health thing even worse, right? With just who you are, who God is, when you struggle with that. And, I know it's a struggle for grown men as well. And it comes back to that mental health, like the focus that I've had over the last 10 years, since I'm out of it, has been to focus on my mental health. Like, you have to have a good mindset to do anything, to be successful, to advance anywhere in life. Like, you can't have, things that negatively affect your mental health.
Help me understand the religion better. So, at 12, you're supposed to find Jesus, mm-hmm. or whatever. Mm-hmm. But you were saying there was some class or something where they were asking you, like, you need a 3-month thing without masturbation. What else? Like,
so they would go over their standards, right? They'd have a copy of standard book of rules in a booklet, and for each rule, they would have a Bible verse attached to it. So they would pick this to form their book, very similar to the LDS. And that's what you live off of, right? And then you have any questions and you can discuss with the elders. And this is in a setting with the elders of the church. So just to get they just run you through the mill to get you to have the same kind of mindset that everybody else has. So then you'd be like, after that, if you meet all their rules and everything and you agree to do that, then you get baptized and you automatically sign up to be a member of the church. So
that's what it is. It's a question. It's a thing that you're trying to get baptized.
Correct.
So if you do that, then you can get baptized.
Yeah. So a lot of people, from the outside world come and do that class, and there's too many things in that book that they can't achieve and never become a member of that church. So just like you said about the FLDS, everything's kind of falling apart. That's how their religion is too. There's a lot of people just leaving. When I left, half of the church, I go back there now, today, there's only one guy that I grew up with that I recognize. All the rest of them are gone. And we had 20-something guys, 20 to 30 of my buddies that we grew up with and hung out with. We're kind of like in our youth group. So all of that stuff is gone. And some of them, went to other different churches and settings and stuff like that. But there's always this mindset that if it doesn't work out here, you can opt out and go find somewhere else. So along with the limited belief of who God is and who you are, if it doesn't work, opt out. And I don't have that mindset about life or about my relationship with God now, because there's not an opt-out option, right? Like I'm in it for life, or I'm going to lose my mental health. So I just try to.
Well, you're in it for life, or you're going to lose your mental health.
I'm in it for, like, what I mean by that is God is, a superior human being in my eyes, right? That's how I believe now. I don't feel like I need a standard book to tell me how and who God is, right? So I watched one of your previous podcasts, and I thought it was interesting that you said that, correct me if I'm wrong, that you don't believe in that anymore, right?
Yeah.
So I'm a little curious on that, because I feel like for me, there's a higher power out there that has helped me, with everything that I've done. When there was nobody to talk to, I could still pray and feel better after my prayer, right? I still felt a connection with somebody, with something that, call it good luck or whatever, but success, in life and with the people that you meet and everything, I just don't feel like I can do all of that on my own. Like I don't feel like I'm capable. Yeah, in myself I do, but like capable of getting through life by yourself is a very difficult thing in this world.
Yeah, it is.
So I feel like there's something, I feel like there is a God that, created this world and lives among us somehow. One I would say one thing that helped me out, one audio that helped me out growing up when I was like 16 to 18 years old, I would say, that I listened to was author out of Nashville, Chuck Black. I don't know if you've heard of that or not, but anyway, he gives a comparison in a movie form in an audio setting. I'm sure there's movies out about it now. I just never, seen or looked it up since then, but it gives you a comparison between the light and the dark spirits that are in and around us, right? So whenever I walk out this door and I choose to go do good for somebody or pay for the person behind me in the Starbucks line, something's prompting or telling me to do a good thing today, right? So then there's a bunch of crime that happens, and people sit in front of a judge and they say, that wasn't me. Whatever happened wasn't me. So the evil spirits influenced me to do that, right? Like there's some kind of power out there prompting me to do good and do bad, right? Like when I know I'm making a bad decision, a sinning decision, there's a war going on in my mind that is winning instead of the light spirits, right?
Yeah.
Kinda...
I know what you're saying. I've thought about that stuff too much. When I had a lot of mental health problems too when I was leaving, and I had really dark times. It's one of the things that gave me a lot more grace for someone like Dad, because, or just like criminals in general, because I understood what kind of pushed them to do the wrong things they did.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if I believe that it's like spirits. I think there's energies and stuff. But I want to keep. I'm gonna keep. I'm gonna keep bugging you until we get until we get your story out.
Yeah. No problem at all.
I feel like
I'm not good at like any of this stuff. You know, like this is the first time that I've really opened up. Right. I'm a very personal person. I don't share my opinions because my personality is a non-avoidant personality. I don't like to confront people and tell them they're doing something wrong. I don't like judging people. I would say there's, a lot of that in those kind of religions. People judge people all the time. Down here in Utah, we wouldn't have the largest influx of plastic surgeons that we do if people wouldn't judge people here as bad as they do, right? So I don't want anything to do with it. I want to be me. I want to have my freedom like everybody does. And I definitely don't want another human being saying you are doing something that's not according to what our organization tells us to do, when it's absolutely not a right or wrong issue, right? So, but go ahead.
Yeah, I agree. Fuck the hypocrisy of the Mormons.
Yeah.
So when you're 12, you don't pass this exam or whatever by the elders.
Mm-hmm.
And you said you got into porn at 13. Like, walk me through this from 12, not passing the exam, to 13.
Mm-hmm.
Like, walk me through that era, and then take me to when you said you were 15 and you leave overnight or something.
Yeah.
Like, you got to explain. You can't just say that and then, like, I don't understand any of it. You got to explain it to me. Like, what happens after the elders?
Honestly, like, I've never shared any of this stuff. So I'm not even sure if I know how to get it out, right?
That's okay.
I feel like it's okay to bring it out, but I mean, I have to process like what it was. Everything, from the age of 12 to 15 years old just happened so fast.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I was getting out of school, I graduated, and then there's this dark period of my life that I just really don't even remember what went on, except I didn't have any school friends because I was out of school at 12. I think it's like, right at 13 years old is when I graduated 8th grade. So then you couldn't become then you couldn't go to the youth classes until you were like 15 or 16, right? Because you couldn't drive, you couldn't get anywhere. So between that 13 and 16 range, I just, it's a very dark period of my life that I just tried to get into the system, right? And it just wasn't for me.
You tried like qualifying to be baptized.
Yes, multiple times, and went through that class a couple times. So, I just never met that criteria, met those standards that they wanted me to be in order to be in the church. And so I was the only one, or maybe me and one of my other friends were the only one that, we weren't shunned because we were never a member, but everybody would come to us, like the elders and stuff, and would talk to us and try to help us and just make it even more confusing, right? It was just an overload of information of what we should be doing to get there. And I think in my mind, I just blocked it. I just blocked it out. It was too much. It was too sophisticated. I couldn't, some people can just slide right in, but I couldn't do that. I think it's because looking back, the only thing that I ever longed for was to be real. Mm-hmm. I just wanted to be me, right? And that's the emotional side of it for me, is I couldn't be me. So I just don't understand why there's religious groups out there forcing things on these kids and making them be an identity that they don't want to be. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, it is. So during this period of your life, like, besides doing your chores and trying to qualify, mm-hmm. like, is there anything different going on? Like, at some point in this time, I guess, is when you hit puberty too. So that's also a change. But like, I don't fully understand. I understand what you're saying, especially about the pressure. Mm-hmm. Like, everybody's a part of this, and you're not.
Yeah. I would say, other than that, like, our childhood was pretty normal, though.
I know, but I'm not talking about the normal stuff. I'm asking what was going on in your mind other than that. Like, you said at 15, you just left. Mm-hmm. Like, what do you mean? You just, like, ran away or something? Or?
Yeah, so, maybe it was at 16, because that's when you can get your driver's license, right? So, working in the general store and in the public and being with people, being outside of this organization, I developed friendships with people in the community, right? Like a lot of them do. And they, to me, were just normal. So I just wanted to be normal, right? And I didn't want to, wear the clothes that they forced me to wear and, do the things that they told me I have to do. So I just wanted to be a normal boy. And in West Tennessee, all the community guys were going down to the river on their boats, and they were hunting and fishing, and they were hanging out with girls and stuff like that. And I could never do that. So that to me was just being normal. I literally just longed to be normal. So I was like, I am not in a normal situation. I'm going to leave. I want to find that freedom. I want to be like everybody else. I want to be normal. So I would say to answer your question, there's not really much to it other than that. I just wanted to be normal.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I can see why the times were dark through those days. I think those were some of my not darkest days, but those were hard days.
Yeah.
But I didn't see the outside world so much.
Yeah.
But yeah, like 12 to 16, those were just hard days.
Yeah.
I think that's when boys change from either they're going to be in it for life,
yeah,
or not.
Yeah, that I would agree.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just trying to understand, because I do believe that, like, if men get past that age, mm-hmm. and they're in it, especially I'm thinking of the FLDS or whatever, but I think it's the same. They have a really hard time leaving.
Yeah.
After.
Yeah.
And I think if men get past that age and leave, then it's probably harder than it is for women.
For us, Two, I would say, this whole thing about becoming a member and stuff is like any of the girls that you went to school with, and the girls that you meet in different churches and stuff. If you wanted to get married, you would definitely have to be a member first, right? So I would say that's what prompts a lot of guys to just stick with it and be with it, is a girl. I mean, my brother, I would say for one, they were high school sweethearts, right? And they, that was the path that they wanted. Love overlooks a lot of stuff, right? So I would say I had that in the back of my mind a lot. I kept wanting to try and try and try and try. So at 19 years old, I finally did. But at that point, I knew it wasn't so much a confusion of who God is anymore. It's like, I know, the church, I know my next steps of, getting married or advancing in this religion is to become a member. It wasn't so much a confusion about who I am and what life's all about, like it was from the age of 12 to 16 years old. So at that point, I knew, I was more educated on what I was getting myself into. But then at 20 years old, some things fell through, and I didn't want it anymore.
So pretty much from 12 to 16, you were depressed as fuck.
Yeah. Very much.
Okay.
Yeah.
I wish I could put that into better
Could
words.
never do what you wanted to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know.
Not saying we never had fun, but it was just regulated so much. We had this slang term growing up that if it's fun, don't do it.
Yeah.
That's literally how it was.
That's very true.
If it's fun, don't do it. And literally, it had to be everything else but fun. So I don't know.
That's true. I think if you're doing something fun, or if you find something fun, why is it that they figure out how to make it not fun?
I know.
They figure out. That's what those groups really become.
Yeah.
That's what I've been trying to tell people, is those groups become authoritarian. Everybody in them becomes authoritarians.
Yeah.
Because they have been so controlled that they have to control everybody.
Yeah.
See, we finally got somewhere. They see you doing something fun,
mm-hmm.
and they will find a way. It doesn't matter if it's a good thing or a bad thing. They will find a way it's wrong.
Yep.
Every single time.
Yep.
Without fail.
Yep.
That's literally the only rule. It can't be fun.
Yeah.
The only rule.
Yeah. And
that's why boys... See, I was trying to say that I don't fully understand the girls' experience,
mm-hmm.
but I know something seriously fucked up with how the boys' depression is. And I was trying to not skip over it because I know it's so real. And I guess that's one way to describe it.
Yeah.
But I think it's the same way for the girls, truly. But yeah. But I think it's just really hard on boys from that time they hit puberty to, and for some reason this is when they really crack down on it too.
Yeah.
It's like, don't you dare, by God, become a man.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I've been around the FLDS some, and I see trucks and toys and stuff like that. Is there any kind of regulation with that?
There wasn't really toys when I was growing up at all.
So let's say on your truck, for us, it was, you couldn't have nothing fancy on your truck. No wheels and tires, fancy wheels and tires. Gotta be stock. If you even put, Toyo MT tires on your truck, it was looked too much like a mud truck, right? Lights, too much. You know, you'd always get talked to as soon as you put the first little thing on your vehicle, the first amount of tint. One of the things growing up was, you know, a sports kind of car. No sports cars. If a Chevy Impala rolled around with a dual exhauster on the back, that was a sports car. You know, it's just so, it just doesn't make sense, you know.
Okay, so
maybe it made sense to them. And I mean, obviously for some people it does make sense, but that rule that another man, you know, has created and says that's not okay, I never could deal with it.
It's the same thing though. It's like, if it's fun, if it's cool,
yeah,
we have to get rid of it.
Yeah.
So the FLDS are really big on cool trucks.
Yeah.
And there's a reason why. But my dad was very, very specific with his boys. Like, if you're putting the big tires on your truck, if you're doing these other things with your truck, are you trying to attract girls? Like what are you trying to do?
Yeah.
How does that build up the
Are you
kingdom
taking
of
more
God?
girls away from me?
Like, Dad, you had 80. Well, and they were boring. You kept them boring. You know what's going on? But it was definitely a quicker thing to cool up your truck.
Yeah.
But I would say it's because the boys, like, they can't look at a girl. They also can't have a house. They can't have any, like, they can't date.
What do you mean a boy can't have a house?
Well, you're just supposed to do what you're told, work and pay your tithing. If you're like, maybe a FLDS boy can have a house when he gets to be 20 or so and kind of is doing his own thing, but not really until you kind of break away and do your own thing. You really can't.
So they would live with their parents.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, or at least
until they're 20 years old.
Or
that's
just,
the same how it was with us too. Yeah, I lived at home till I was 19, 20.
But it's more about you doing what you're told constantly.
Yeah.
Like, if you were going to go buy a house, that would be seen as rebellion, kind of.
Really?
So the one thing boys can do, and it's not encouraged by the leadership to, like, juice up your truck and put good tires. That's kind of discouraged, but it's still okay in some sense. So trucks are literally the only thing the boys have. They can't date. They can't go buy a house. They have to work. They have to do what their parents say. They have to do what the prophets say. They have to mostly pay their tithing. The one thing they can get away with is putting big tires on their truck, buying a nice truck, and it's the only thing they have. That's why every one of them has a brand new 6.7 or Chevy, and they have big, cool tires, and some of them are super good mechanics that delete them all.
Delete them, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I would say that was a lot of the, you were cool if you had a truck that had a couple of little things done to it, but it was never like too much, I would say, a couple of me and my buddies would have had the nicest trucks and the, on the line trucks. So we did everything that we knew we could to them to make them still fit under those guidelines. Yeah.
So did you run away at 15?
Yeah. So that was, we're kind of talking more 20 now, but at 16 years old, I ran away. Like, I packed my clothes, couple, sets of clothes, threw them in the car, and I was out of there for the night. And to this day, I never really had a discussion, much with my parents about how that affected, like, the family and stuff. But I was just, I was seeking freedom. I was seeking peace, and I didn't have it. And I didn't even know that at 16 years old you can't do that, right? You can't just up and leave. It's illegal to be in somebody else's car at 16 years old, and you have the law after you and all that as a minor, right? Ignorant, had no clue. I thought I was doing the right thing for myself. So, crazy stuff, man.
So you just borrowed somebody's car?
Dad's car.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he just called the cops?
Well, the next morning he did. Yeah. After I didn't answer, and they didn't know that I had a cell phone, at 16 years old. I didn't even have a cell phone until I was like 18. So at 16 years old, you can't have a phone. So, but I did, I had a bunch of phones by the time I was, in the ages of 14 to 18, that I wasn't supposed to have.
You just buy them from the store or something?
Yeah, just go down to Dollar General and buy a plan and go month to month on them or whatever. So,
So the cops find you, or you come back, or?
I came back. Obviously, I knew the cops were looking for me, so I was such in a bad state of mind coming back that it was raining really hard, and I honestly didn't care if I crashed and myself,
Mm-hmm.
So those thoughts were definitely running through my mind, and I never dreamed I would be, where I'm at today in life and business, and where, beautiful state of Utah, and being a pilot, and, all that stuff. Like once you get out of that, like, your vision of life just opens up, and you feel free. You feel limitless, honestly. Like, that's a limitless mindset is not attainable until you exit a religion. So to me, anybody that's in a religion, if you're feeling trapped, if you're feeling like you want to do more, just get out. It's that simple. Like, there's nothing to it. Relationships can be repaired. At least that's how it was for me. If you don't go and, jump into the other ditch like some people do. I kind of just snuck out on my way out when I moved to Utah. So I didn't.
So you found Jesus first, so
Mm-hmm.
we got to know about finding Jesus. I need to figure this out.
You got to figure this out.
I want to find Jesus the Mennonite way.
Yeah. Yeah. Honestly, for me though, there was a point in my life where I went to like a boot camp place away from where I grew up. I don't feel like in my type of situation, if you're somebody that struggled like me at, 12 to 15 years old with, authority, you struggled with authority, like who actually is an authority of your life, whether it's your parents or God or the church. A boot camp is really where I found like who God is or what he meant to me. So it's like you still have to kind of leave that situation, leave that setting that you grew up in, and, reset. Everybody needs a reset. Yeah. And people don't take enough resets. So
you're saying I should go on vacation?
Yeah, absolutely. That's why people go on vacation, right?
Yeah.
Is they need a reset. They need to start over in their mind. They need a refresher. So that's what I did for a year. Obviously my parents were okay with it, and I went to Missouri. I lived in Missouri for a year on a ranch, and
was it a Mennonite ranch?
Yeah, it was run by Mennonites, and it was the same organization. But for me, it's new. Everything's new. There's new people there, new friends, new this, new that, and it just like opened up my mindset of different things that I could do. So I would say, if you're like me, struggled at 12 to 15 years old and you just can't see a breakthrough, like find a boot camp place to go to and, be open to something better that's out there. If the organization that you're in or whatever is too confusing, there is something better out there, right? So what they want you to believe is there is nothing better out there, right? They want to keep you in their bubble. So after I got back out of that, then coming home was new. That was all new again. Stuff was new with people. A whole year went past and I was not there. Now there's new stuff again. So that was exciting. So it kind of entertained, my 18 and 19-year-old self. So I would say like when, finding God and actually, becoming a Christian and having, freedom in your mind, I didn't really truly, I chose that, that God is who he is. And I believed in some kind of higher power, but I don't think I ever truly understood who Brandon Suarez was until I moved to Utah. No friends, completely started over. And I sat in a semi for 4 years. And you just stare at that road, and everything in the last 20 years of your life just goes through your mind, and you just sort it out. You just sort it out and sort it out. And you just, you really figure out who you are, because you don't have somebody telling you what to do. You got to figure out who you are and what your own standards are, right? So life on the road was, for me, as far as like finding God, that's how I did it. I trucked. So
yeah. But when you did end up getting baptized into the Mennonites. Mm-hmm. You were an official Mennonite, right?
I think it was 18 or 19 years old, which is way past the bracket of everybody else, right? Yeah. Like I think it was me and one other person around my age or maybe a couple years younger that was late to the show.
Yeah. Finally
getting there. So it was a big celebration. It was a big event that this lost soul prodigal son finally got to the fold, Yeah. And it was the biggest baptism that the church ever had, So
what do you mean?
Everybody came from everywhere. So, the church was packed for my baptism, and normal baptisms weren't like that. So, yeah, the prodigal came home and everybody came for it,
Why'd you skip that? Why did you skip that part of the story? Why did I have to press you so hard for it? That's what I'm wondering. Every single thing you've told me about, like a story that's happened, pressed you.
Are you a psychologist or what?
No, I'm just trying to figure out why. Why is it that you didn't want to share that? Like, I asked you about it, then you talked about trucking on the road. I'm just wondering, what is it?
I don't think there's any reason why. There's just so many details in this religious world that, like I said, this is the first time that I'm ever bringing up all those details. Like, I'd literally never talked to anybody in this depth before for 10 years. So I don't know if that's good or bad. I mean, if it helps somebody, that's the ultimate reason why I'm here, sharing my story, because there's a lot of people out there that need someone else to, get on their level and show them a way out. I mean, that's why you have this podcast. You're literally showing people, and you're getting messages from FLDS people that want out. They're looking for freedom. So I don't know anybody I don't know an ex-Mennonite that has ever sat down on a podcast and has shared how to get out. There's not a podcast out there. It's all business and everything else, all those podcasts are out there, but there's never really like, do you feel the same? Have you felt the same way that I did? I mean, number one, you hardly hear anybody saying that they struggled with porn from an ex-Mennonite or a Mennonite. Nobody's honest. I don't care. If this helps somebody out, that's why I'm sharing it.
No, I think that's awesome. And I think the Mennonites are going to come out of the woodwork,
The podcast might blow up, huh? I mean, the ones that have, like Spotify or YouTube or whatever might listen to it, but there's a lot of them that don't, unfortunately. I mean, there's always ways to find it, and people do find it, and then links get sent around, and, and they find a way to watch it, yeah.
But you said a lot of the women don't leave. What did you mean? They just never leave, or most of the women are just staying there?
I don't know if I know of one woman that left like the name or the religion Mennonite that I grew up with.
They just go to another location.
They either go to another location and find new friends, or they're just caught up in the whole thing and they'll just never get out. Yeah. I don't know. I would say the way they get out is they would get married and then both of them would leave, right?
Yeah.
So that's essentially like how most girls would leave. Yeah.
Like, hey, I want to do something with you, but I don't want you to do it when you have a dress on.
Yeah, I mean, it's exactly.
Isn't that rude?
Yeah.
I feel like that's so rude.
Yeah. But, I would say, there's always liberals and conservatives in every religion, every group of people, right? That's how politics are. That's how this whole world works. So the conservatives would marry the conservatives in that group. The liberals would marry the liberals, and they would either leave or go somewhere else.
You mean there's some Mennonite? Are you saying that literally, or just like in Mennonite terms? Like there's liberal Mennonite. Are you saying there's actual liberal Mennonites, or are you saying they're just more liberal within the Mennonite community?
So my definition of liberal would be you're bending every rule, or you're jumping through every hoop to get around that rule but still comply. The conservatives would be like, I'm wearing my bonnet when I sleep, right?
Yeah.
That that kind of being conservative, right? Because if the rapture happens and I'm in bed without my covering on, at least I'm going to heaven still, right? That's actually what some people.
You have to have your bonnet on to get caught up in the rapture.
Yeah, or you got to wear, black socks.
Damn.
Yeah.
I'm going to start wearing black socks.
So you can't, so guys can't see skin.
Oh.
Right? And potentially lust. Yeah.
That falls on them, right?
Yeah. Falls on the girls.
Yeah.
So obviously that's not the case. It's just a cover up, right? Like those kind of rules are the men's problem, not the women's problem.
So why do so many boys watch porn in these religious communities? It's the same way in the Mormon church. Why is it that the more restricted it is, that's where the young people watch porn? Why do so many Mennonite boys watch porn? If you restrict it, they still do it.
Yeah.
That's why I don't believe in God. because I believe that our humanity comes first, and the minute we restrict ourselves by God or something, then we just find a way to justify it, and then evil somehow becomes good. And that's how sexual misconduct and everything becomes holy to some of these religious leaders and stuff. You know, it's like there's probably abuse happening in the Mennonites where a leader, some odd situation is going on where this leader is this girl's like elder or whatever, and something's going on, but he's probably like justifying it somehow by God or something.
Yeah.
You know?
I can totally see how your mindset about God is a result, like, is different, you know, growing up the way you did, because of how everything is centralized around women, right?
Well, no, I don't think it's... I talk about women a lot because, well, I think I got insane insight into the psychology of my dad's wives without any sexual desire within me or anything. But I guess my big thing, even like with the Amish, like so many men or so many of the boys are watching porn because it's forbidden. I fundamentally don't believe in morality. I only believe in ethics in some sense, like principles that make society flourish today. I think morality is basically how we justify ourselves. That's literally all it is.
Yeah.
And you do that with anything. Like LDS people do it with everything. They justify themselves in going against their own doctrine constantly. Like if you're a Mennonite boy, you have certain human needs. You justify yourself in watching porn, but I mean, even if you don't justify yourself, you still do it. Like your needs as a human have to be met. And that's why I believe like humanity is the vision of ethics, the only vision of ethics I want to have. I don't want to have a view of ethics that is, this is right. No, I'm human, you're human, we both make mistakes. Like all this God, whatever it is, all your morality, all you're better than me and I'm better than, all bullshit.
Yep, it's bullshit. I can 100% agree with you. And I never have ever like pushed my belief onto somebody else, because everybody has a different story to tell, right? And I think in every religion, everybody forgets that single principle. Everybody has a different story to tell. And your story is not my story. Even though we're human and we can interact and be on the same page, I should be okay with how you view yourself and you view life, right? But that's not the case in most religious circles. They feel like because this is how, you know, pastor whatever believes, then this is how the rest of us need to believe, or whoever the Mormon, you know, leader is, Smith. What's his name? Joseph Smith.
Yeah.
So, you know, because he had these revelations and he had all this stuff, then the rest of us should believe like he believed. I don't feel like that's the case. We're all human. Jesus, God, whoever you want to call it, a higher power, accepts us for who we are. We don't have to be anything. We don't have to be a forced identity of anything. We can just be who we are. I need to have a break.
Yeah, let's have a break.
Blow my nose. Yeah, I don't feel like I've ever necessarily, I would say in 10 years I've never, you know, gotten this deep into it. And I'm not a psychologist. I read something popped up, I don't know, a year or two ago in my feed where this guy called himself the Bible thumper. That sounds so ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not that, like I don't care. I don't care how deep you want to get into religion and God. I feel like Jesus accepts every human being for who they are. He, in the Bible, he accepted everybody that he was around. The people that had problems were his followers that were trying to put themselves on a pedestal because they were closer to Jesus. So we are human. It's all like, it's good. We don't have to put anybody on a pedestal. Nobody's on a pedestal. We're all just humans.
I agree. What is the average person on Facebook that sees like a Mennonite girl with her bonnet on, with her mom,
shopping?
Well, maybe they're like gathering the chicken's eggs or something like that, and they're like, this is novel to them. It's like, yeah, like their life maybe isn't going so good, and they're like, fuck, we should be Mennonites. What do you think?
I honestly, if that would be the case, you would see Mennonite groups converting other people to their religion, and that is not the case. I don't know of, in a dozen churches that I knew growing up, I'd say one or two people or families converted to that religion from the outside world. So when they're living to bring others to Christ, they're not doing a very good job of it. So, whereas I'll give props to the LDS for doing their emissions. They have a turnover rate they have a pretty successful rate of converting people to their religion.
Yeah.
So when you talk numbers and stuff like that and successful religions or cults, I would, I give that to them. It is psychology. It's sales, and the more I'm in that world, in the sales world, which I'm in, I can see why people get swayed one way or another to join this and, to buy this and buy that. Like it's just how we are. I think for me, everybody longs for some sort of validation in other humans. People long for validation with other humans, and I don't really. Like, I'm not
really.
That's not me necessarily being prideful in my own self, but I don't know. I don't have a lot of friends. I don't have people that I hang out with on a regular basis. I'm maybe that stage in my life would change. I don't know. But I don't feel like I need the validation of someone else to tell me that I'm, being a good person or not. I feel like I am already. So I don't know how, some people would be like, oh, you're just a proud, human being then. You think you got it all figured out. No, I don't. I'm just cool with just being neutral. I don't have to. Yeah. So in a lot of circles, for a lot of people coming out of a religious circle like that, the hardest thing is leaving the people that you're around, because you lived for that validation with all your peers. And I said, screw it, I'm out. Didn't need that. So I find that in myself by being successful and helping my clients and doing what I do.
Do you feel like you wish you had more friends?
I definitely see, I definitely see people with friends and wish I would have friends, like more friends, golfing buddies. But then again, I feel like I'm the most blessed human around because I'm 29 years old and I have a successful business, and the men that are around me in the business space, even though I don't hang out with them on a weekly basis, that in itself gives me more validation than I need to have somebody babysit me every week and go hang out and play golf with them,
Mm-hmm.
So, good question.
You know how in the Amish and the FLDS, the women are more controlled.
Mm-hmm.
And when you come out here in the world, then I feel like modern society puts down men a lot. And I'm not blaming the women, but
I would say sorry to interrupt you. I would say that's very strong in Utah, right?
what?
That mindset with women, with men, right? You said that they're kind of, what was the term you used?
I said they kind of like dismiss men. They kind of put men down. I feel like that's been my experience in the outside world.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I came from somewhere where women were controlled a lot, but in the world I'm in now, a lot of women actually are very dismissive of men, almost like they're not humans.
Yeah.
You're not a human.
Mm-hmm.
It's very eye-opening, and I'm not saying all women, and actually a lot of people that watch my podcast are women, and they're very kind.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not saying all women. I'm just saying, especially ones my age, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like the older ones are more human in some sense, and there's some my age that are very human too.
So you date older women?
No. Well, I have a lot of
Older women
people
friends.
people that are about my mother's age that just, I guess, take a lot of interest in like how I'm doing.
Yeah, what you do.
So
the reason why I asked, I definitely hang out with the older, group of people, men and women. So, like in business, in everything else that I do, I don't know, the older, 20 years older, 30 years older than me, that's who I hang out with. I'm the kid in the groups that I hang out with by a lot. So I've never hung out with somebody my age or younger, that I normally hang out with, on a regular basis. So,
yeah.
But no, I see what you mean. Like, and what do you think that is, though? Like, do you believe the whole psychological thing that that men just are no longer men, and that women are now becoming smart or smarter than men in business? Because in Utah, I don't know what the ratio is, but there's a lot more, entrepreneur women out there than men. Maybe. I don't know if that ratio is the same, but we could look it up.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. I'm not saying it's all women, but I tend to go off people's actions more than what they say. So if I meet somebody and they say, "Oh, I really appreciate you and everything," and they want to do something, but then they won't schedule it, okay, I'll go off your actions. I think a lot of men these days just really struggle with any kind of recognition.
Would you say that's how it is here in Utah?
I think that the church is one of the reasons why one of the places men can find, but it's somewhere women are more controlled.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't know.
Do you think in Utah, women are more controlled?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, well, no. The Mormon ones?
Yeah.
A lot of the Mormon ones.
I mean, in any religious circle, but the majority in Utah is Mormon, so.
Well, and maybe it's just more Utah than anything, but a lot of women that leave here in Utah, I actually get along with a lot of ex-Mormon women, even that are my age, a lot better than I do anybody else. I don't know.
Yeah. What's your theory on, just 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago it was, I saw statistics of OnlyFans users in Utah are higher than they are in any other state. What does that say about the men? What does that say about religion?
To me, it says that it's further proof that the Mormon Church is the most hypocritical organization on this earth.
Yeah, and I would say, would you include FLDS with that?
I would say if they have the internet, absolutely. If they have the internet.
Oh, they don't have the internet?
You're not supposed to.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Like,
so that's very similar to Amish and Mennonite, though. Yeah, no internet. Business only if you have to have it. You got to have a reason to have it and bring it in front of a bunch of people to, yeah. But yeah, I what is Utah, 60-70% Mormon? So I would agree that in the state of Utah, there's a higher influx of men that aren't really men anymore, because the women have, essentially they're controlling the men anymore because the church controls them. And that's how it is in the Mennonites. The men are controlled from the church. It's not like all of a sudden you're like, oh, the men are just not men anymore. It's because of something else, and it's because they're in a system that gives them a limited mindset to perform and be a man. I remember lots of times my dad didn't come from a Mennonite background. He was just a normal person. He did not get along as much with some of the superior leaders in the church because he was just doing common sense things. But common sense is not the way to go. If it's fun, don't do it. If it makes common sense, don't do it. There's a rule for every little thing. Well, we're just doing it because it's common sense, right? So when you're in that system for so long and you're around it and you're finally trained that you can't do this because it's not common sense, you're being manipulated, you're being controlled. So therefore you can't be who you need to be as a man.
Yeah. I'm trying to think. So if you're an LDS man, why would you watch porn? You have the internet. You can date. You can date 4 people.
If you're married or not.
Yeah. That's funny. Yeah, LDS are very interesting. Dude, I have tried my best to understand their minds.
Yeah. So I understand, everybody, like I said, everybody's still seeking that validation in life. And that's, I would say to everybody that's listening, you're seeking validation. Everybody's seeking validation. And it's either going to be in a church, in an organization that helps you be who you think you want to be, right? You're still not fulfilled with yourself, right? Your mindset isn't fulfilled in your own self, so you have to seek it from everybody else.
Do you think that's why I think that about some women, is because I don't have my mindset totally fulfilled? So I
mean, I would never sit here and judge you. That never crossed my mind when I said that.
I know, but see, I self-analyze. I like people to tell me, like, dude, you're fucked up this way.
I do too. I like people that give it to me straight.
It literally could be some of that. You know, like I always got recognition. Well, I always got recognition from my dad and was told to never talk or think about or anything with women. So it could be now that, because I'm not totally fulfilled with myself, like I don't have 100% confidence in who I am, that some, like when women ignore me or something like that, I could take that more personally than I should be. Yeah.
I struggled with that for a long time, I would say. And sometimes I would, you are in front of somebody or a woman that's super hot and you're just like, oh gosh, like I don't know how to act, right? And you face any kind of rejection, it affects you for sure. I see what you're saying. Like, I don't know. Like I said, we're all on a journey. We all have a story, and it's all a process. So, whatever you're going through with that, like.
Well, I just want people to treat each other like humans.
Yeah.
Like, don't treat me like I'm a man or a woman. Treat me like I'm a human.
Yeah.
And that's what I try to do to other people.
Yeah.
Like, you're a human.
Yeah. Doesn't matter where what you were, what you did. And honestly, that's a Jesus trait, right? He just treated everybody the same. He wasn't partial to anybody. So that's how I think God thinks. So that's how I'm going to be to everybody else, or to everybody that I meet.
Yeah, but I do still stand kind of by my point about at least some women where they treat man non-human.
Intentionally.
Yeah, like, you're not human. You're a man. I see all kinds of things like, you're not human. You're men.
Yeah.
These men. Like, I don't know. I don't like it.
Yeah.
But I meet a lot of men that are just kind of struggling a little.
Yeah.
Especially my age. Older men.
How old are you?
I'm 27.
27?
Almost 28. Okay. See, we can be friends.
Yeah. Age don't make a difference to me. Like I said, anybody that I vibe with and get along with, and you have similar like interests in life, and like to golf, like to like aviation, you're always going to be my friend.
Are you like good at golf?
No. I'm probably 3 seasons in, like not that good. So
got it.
Still working on that swing, I love it though.
I've hardly played golf.
Yeah, I go out probably like once or twice a month, something like that. So just did my first round this week, it was, I believe. Yep.
Okay.
For this year.
Uh-huh.
Yep. So.
Yeah, my brothers were trying to get me into golf. I said, I'm not 40 yet.
Yeah. Yep.
Maybe I'll get into it more though. Everybody else seems to love it.
Honestly, it's a game. It's a stupid game. Mm-hmm. It really is. You really think about it. You're just hitting a stupid ball around the field, and you're trying to be better than your buddies. I mean, you might have a drink or two, and it might help, but I love it for. It's a reset for me. You just go out there. It's peaceful.
That's what it is.
It's your mind is on that swing, and you're out there with somebody that you want to hang out with. Obviously, you don't go to golf with your enemies. So, yeah.
Do you have like a Southern accent, or is this a Mennonite accent?
I don't know what it is. I mean, I would say everybody out here in Idaho and Utah they definitely say I have a Southern accent. There's probably a little bit of that left, but I've lost a lot of my accent because, dude, people talk weird out here, It's a different Western deal,
Yeah.
I lived in Southern Idaho for part of the time that I was out here, but eventually moved down here to Utah. So,
can you say Jesus accepts? Jesus
accepts.
Jesus, yeah.
Jesus accepts.
That's where I notice your accent. So when you go to the South,
yeah,
do they tell you have an accent?
They don't, everybody around there has an accent.
Yeah.
So they don't say, hey, you got an accent. But as soon as I moved out here, the first person I spoke to was like, dang, you're not from around here. You know?
You got Southern.
But I lost it. I mean, it's been 10 years.
Have it, kind of.
Yeah, so.
I definitely have the FLDS accent.
Yeah.
I think I'll lose it slowly.
Yeah.
But
speech therapy.
Yeah. When I was down there in Texas, then they're like, where's your accent from? I was like, Utah. And when I'm here in Utah, they say, where's your accent from? I tell them Texas.
Yeah. Yep. No, I don't know. I mean, I don't know that I don't know how long we're into this podcast, but it's been great. And we should definitely do another one. Yeah. I don't feel like I'm out of things to say.
Uh-huh.
But I'd say there's probably another level of, depth into the whole Mennonite thing. You know, you might have to read on it and ask me some more hard questions.
Yes. Yes, I will. Yeah. We're going to go up to the Westerner. I don't know if you wanted me to tell everybody that, but
I don't care at all.
Yeah.
I've been in 2026. I was like, you know what? So there's a bunch of things in life that I want to do, right? Now that I'm limitless, I can do anything. You can do anything. So I have all these boxes I need to check in life that I want to do. And for 2026, it was learn how to dance.
Got it.
So you won't find a Mennonite dancing. So
really?
No.
What?
So I want to learn how to line dance, learn how to country swing, learn how to do West Coast dancing, and I've been, probably 3 or 4 months into it now. So
okay.
I love it. It's fun.
Yeah.
It's social. It's a social thing with people, and that's how we met. That's how we're on this podcast. So it was fun.
I know. I thought I was going there for the girls, and I found you. That's funny. I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Honestly, it's if you go there every week or if you go to other, dance classes and stuff, I go to other ones as well. But there's just this cool group of people that are in this dance world, and it's a community again. Why is it that way? Why do humans feel like they have to be part of something? Why is everybody seeking so much validation?
I know.
Right? I just wanted to go and learn how to dance. And then I figured out there's a freaking group in this whole dance
really
thing.
Is.
So it's really not even in, it's not about the girls like you probably thought it was in the beginning. It's just a social thing, and it's a skill. It's a skill I've always wanted to learn, and so let's do it.
I really enjoy dancing.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean,
but God,
just music.
But like you were saying, like it gives you validation to be a part of a social thing like that. And if you can do it good, like it doesn't matter how, like people just like that. If you can do it good and you feel better about yourself, like Dude, my ego must be huge.
Yeah. I will say, growing up like we did, going to dance class is a hard thing for your ego.
It is.
It is so hard. And maybe everybody else feels that way. I don't know. But for me, I was like, dude, I just got to get out there and just look like an idiot.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you just got to put your walls down and just get out there and act like an idiot for a while, and then you finally get it.
Yeah.
And same thing, with country swing and West Coast. Like, you got to go find that partner. It ain't fun doing that.
It's one of the hardest things.
It's one of the hardest things.
For me, socially.
Especially, having the things that you struggle with on a day-to-day basis about women, right? It's hard to go and get out there.
Yeah, it's getting way easier for me, like on the dance floor. I would say, like, with women, I definitely still have my struggles, but at least I treat them only just like other humans.
Yeah.
And that's what I want them to do too.
And honestly, like, in the class, in that group, it is really just about treating each other like a human.
Yeah.
Right? Like, dancing with people, even though you're doing all those moves, like, you're just being a normal human. You're not sitting in the corner all shy and being weird, right? You're out there being normal like the rest of them.
But that's what I was taught to do.
Yeah.
Sit in the corner.
Oh yeah,
and be weird.
100%. 100%. Yeah. If it's fun, don't do it. And so everybody else that was out there having fun, I wanted to do that, but it was always really weird for me to get out there and do it.
So do you do all right socially?
Do I what?
Do you embrace social situations?
Or
is that hard for you?
No, I'd say in the last couple of years, especially in business, like, I have to get out there. And what I'm finding out is, most people that are my age at 25 years old starting a business, looking back, I was just trying to replace my income being a truck driver. Jumping into a business owner role at 25 years old, I mean, I don't know if there's a lot of people that normally do that, right? So I didn't even realize it at the time, and now I'm just realizing it, that was a hard thing to do. Coming out of what I was doing, how I grew up, that was a hard move to make. And I don't know, I love risk,
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying not to love risk as much financial risk. I'm learning that in business, but getting out there and just shaking hands, meeting other people. Yeah, it was hard to do, but now I freaking love it. Like, I'm one handshake away from making $1 million.
Uh-huh.
You got to have that mindset in business, today. I mean, just on the way down here, I had a meeting this morning with somebody I never met. That's huge here in Utah. I mean, big time influencer, and maybe some of you don't like the whole influencer thing, and I personally don't like it either. But but it's the connections, right? It's the collaboration of everybody to get being successful in life, not only with money, but being successful in relationships and in the state, in the community. So
yeah. Did you want to shout out your social media or business or anything? I mean, if you don't, that's fine.
Yeah. So
if you do, go for it.
Yeah. So I own Utah Structures. We're a tiny home, backyard shed, pavilion, pergola, greenhouse, chicken coop company. And basically what we do is we buy from the manufacturer, place it on our retail location, and then we meet our clients through that. So all of our, handles for social media is Utah Structures. Obviously, you can go to utahstructures.com to check out all of our stuff. But, here in Utah, tiny homes are a crazy thing. So we're doing crazy stuff. Like, I don't know really if it's a thing to mention. It's not really, because it's cool or whatever, but we sold a tiny home to Post Malone last week and
that's cool.
And delivered it. So like meeting people is what I essentially just love to do.
Cool.
Yeah. So, but
whatever I can do to get more of his money. I'm just joking. I'm totally kidding.
Dude, you if you would understand, people say that though. People say that though, and it's like, dude, you have no idea what I went through in the last 5 years. To be able to
I know.
To be able to get to the place where I can sell a product to Post Malone.
Yeah.
Right? Like that's wild. For me, I'm just like, dang. How did I get here? Right? But people took a chance on me. That's the only way I'm here. People took a chance on me. And you gotta I would say in life, people, yes, they took a chance on me, but I took a chance on myself.
Yeah, I agree. Business is hard. I've been in it for a while now. It can be rough.
Yeah.
And you got to get through those tough days.
But life is hard. Life is hard, right?
Yeah.
And people will resonate with you on this podcast, how they grew up, whatever it was, whatever religion that they were in. Life was hard growing up. Nobody is handed an easy growing up stage, right? It was the way to form and shape who we are. And the number one thing is you have to take a chance on yourself. You gotta jump it. You gotta jump out of that nest. Take a chance on yourself. You'll never regret it, if it's for the right purpose, right? So,
yeah. Well, thanks everybody for coming. Thanks everybody for watching. Go check out Brandon. Buy a mobile home from Brandon. There's nobody that can do it better than an ex-Mennonite. Right?
Yep, the carpenter specialist, right?
Exactly.
Now, if you want to follow my personal page too, it's kind of hilarious. It's Brandon Suarez 2.0.
2.0.
Yeah. So what I was in that cult, what I was in that religion, I go about my day, I go about my week, my year anymore, and it feels like a totally different life.
Totally agree. I'm
totally do not resonate with it at all, ever. And I'm just like, I just wake up some days and I just feel so lucky, right? For who I feel like God has helped me to be in my own mindset. And I go back and it does not resonate with me at all. It feels like dude, I don't even know how to describe it. You feel like you walk into a different existence. Yes. That's how it is.
It is a whole different world.
Yep. So for me, moving forward, moving ahead of it, I can't surround myself with that limited belief, that limited mindset, because I now am limitless in my mindset. I can do anything. And I'll never go back to that. Never.
Awesome. Love the mindset. Limitless. And we all are. We just got to believe in ourselves.
Yeah.
Have any last words you want to tell everybody? I heard you say Mennonite was a cult. I was glad for that clarification. I was over here wondering, like,
honestly,
these pretty dresses
yep.
and all this bullshit going on, that's a fucking cult.
Yep. And here's the thing is, when you're 12 years old and you're asking your friends, are we in a cult? Have you ever done that growing up?
Oh.
Did you?
Yeah, like, I remember just like a year before I left the FLDS, me and my brothers were talking about being in a cult, and I had already stepped too far out.
Yeah.
And they were
How
laughing.
long ago was that?
That was in 2021.
Really?
Yeah.
You're fresh.
I know. And
wow.
my brothers, two of them, they were older than me. They're talking about it. They're laughing, saying everybody thinks we're in a cult. And they're saying, "Oh, this person said this about us being in a cult, and this person." And I'm just over being quiet. I'm like, "This is a cult."
Yeah.
These guys do not know. What
They don't get it. They don't get it. No, you don't realize it until you realize it. Until you've taken that reset that I did at 18, 19 years old, you will never. I mean, if you ever feel like you're in a cult, you probably are. I would say 100% chance you're in a cult.
Yeah.
If you ever question, if you can question it, you're definitely in a cult. There's no question about it.
If you're wondering, you got your answer.
Yep. And that was me from the time I could even sense that there was anything, when I could sense that there was a choice, right? That question was in my mind the entire time. But no, to wrap this up, I don't know. I'm sure, along with that, calling it a cult, there's going to be a lot of people that'll watch this that I was friends with or whatever that would definitely disagree with me. Like, and I don't even care. Like, big deal. What you believe is totally fine by me. You can believe whatever you want to believe, right? Men or humans don't like, or they create an abrasive moment when you try to force someone else's opinion on another. And that's when you're in a cult.
I also feel like anybody that makes women wear dresses is a cult.
Makes them, requires them. Yeah. I mean, even though that was the pioneer way of life and stuff back in the day, I don't feel like they forced it on their women. We were in the land of the free, and women liked to do that, right? So, yeah, we could talk about some more stuff.
Well, awesome. Thanks for being here. Thanks everybody for watching. Follow Brandon's advice to not be a Mennonite and have a free and open mind. That's what we're all aiming for.
Yep.
Don't go join the Mennonites. Don't think their dresses are cool. I mean, you can think their dresses are cool. You can wear one if you want. But
And to help you out on your podcast, comment down below if you think I should do this again with Jaden. I mean, he's like the popular, son of a cult leader, honestly. It feels pretty crazy, actually. You probably never really think about it in that way, I
don't.
But people do.
I try to be authentic.
Yeah.
That's the most important thing for me is to, I need people to help me not let this get to my head.
Yeah.
Like, dude, one thing I need to remember, I'm a fucking human.
Yeah.
No better than anybody else.
Exactly. Yep.
Awesome. Okay, thanks everybody. We're all humans, no better than anybody else. We'll see you guys next time. Peace out.